an article that came out on the Washington Times. It's dated August 14th, 2017. White Supremacy, a Symptom of Americans' Despair. There is a deep well of suffering in America. What we see on the surface is a country with a national emergency of opioid addiction, where loneliness is a greater threat to public health than obesity, and where an increasing number of middle-aged citizens, white people in particular, succumb to deaths of despair, suicide, accidental drug overdose, and alcohol-related liver disease. Economic factors alone don't account for the rising tide of deaths of despair. Non-white Americans, as well as immigrant citizens, experience the same economic pressure, low wages, high expenses, without the same rise in death rates. Perhaps it is in part their historical entitlement that makes white American particularly susceptible to today's existential malaise. Fundamental attitudes towards success and failure may also play a role. According to the results of a recent survey from the Washington Post and the Kaiser Family Foundation, white Christians are more than twice as likely to blame a person's poverty on individual failings and Americans who have no religious affiliation. This is especially true for white evangelicals, Christians. Half of white Catholics attributed poverty to lack of effort, that is, laziness. Less than a third of African American Christians agree. But you know what? That unemployment and poverty is hitting white people more and more each day. And your drug addicts are pretty much an example of that poverty, because you can't be a drug addict and not run out of money. It's going to happen. And that's why they're out here panhandling. So you may take a deeper look at your own people when it comes down to poverty. On Saturday in Charlottesville, Virginia, America's deep well of inner suffering exploded outward, exposing the bloody ugliness of fear, hatred, and extremism. Demonstrators carried Nazi flags and Confederate flags, banners of degrading and cruel ideologies. The nation's historical enemies, who are ideological enemies of everything that is good and decent in America, like the deaths of despair. White supremacy ideology is a symptom of an ailing society. The illness is spiritual, infecting the soul of our national community. Middle-aged white people are dying prematurely, and white extremists are dominated by the fear of extinction. Well, then that tells me you need to fix your community from within. Why are you mad at people from other communities? They didn't cause this for you. Okay? It was no Black person providing you with prescriptions for opioids. That was more than likely your white doctor. Their existential fear needs an explanation, and here's what they find. They believe they are doomed by the growth of the non-white population manipulated by Jews. Believe me, the Jews are not manipulating Blacks, Latinos, and Asians into having babies. Where are you coming up with that nonsense? Okay, you can sit and believe what you want. It sounds like y'all got a whole bunch of falsehoods that you sat around, made up, and you chose to believe it. Jews don't have anything to do with Black, Latino, and Asian population growth. It's just one of those things that naturally happen, and we happen to not only replace our dying population but we always go above and beyond that number. And that's how it's supposed to be. White supremacy is the right finds its reflection in a brand of identity politics on the political left, with its own hateful rhetoric, including anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. You know, whatever. Okay, black people are Semitic. Why would we be anti-Semitic? That's stupid. Politically and socially, we are defining ourselves into smaller and smaller subgroups, each looking out for itself. Where once a president inspired a nation with ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We now feature the politics of resentment. Look at what we've got. I'm entitled to mine. Whatever. You know, if you are in deep fear of your population not growing, again, that's a problem from within your group. I don't know why you're striking out at everybody else. That makes no sense. That tells me that the white community has a lot of problems. And instead of dealing with those problems, you want to be on the street fighting everybody else. What is that going to do for your population growth? Is that going to get you off of opioids? Is that going to fix your suicide rate? That's not going to do a damn thing for you. Your problem is you don't know how to focus on the right thing. I don't care. Let me just make this clear. I don't care if you don't want me included. I ain't trying to be included among you anyway. So that message is just laughable to me. I'm not trying to be involved with the white community. A spiritual disorder is one that causes fragmentation and alienation. It is a nation of disconnect from one another, from our community, and from the larger whole. There are fewer and weaker marriages and families, and no robust institution to take their place. That is true. You know, when I was growing up, I saw weddings all the time on the weekend. You know, and I would see, because we have several churches around here, it was always a wedding, if not at a few of the churches, or you always were driving along and you saw a wedding party driving past on the weekend. I can't remember the last time I've been on the road and saw a wedding party in limos. I can't remember that. But see, you got to understand, white people are not getting married like they used to. They used to a lot back in the day. Even 10, 15 years ago, a lot of them were getting married. Nowadays, not only do I hardly ever see them with babies, I hardly ever go out on the weekends and see any weddings going on with white people. Now, the last wedding party I saw were black people. But even 10 years ago, I saw a lot of white people. Not anymore. I think the last few I've seen limos going down the highway with a wedding party were black. White, I can't even remember the last time I've seen a white wedding party. And I'm in an integrated neighborhood. You know, you should see some. Okay, let me get myself back on course. The individual is isolated, literally dying of loneliness. We will move forward and find our way through this national emergency, as we have through so many before. The experience will make us wiser if we keep in mind some fundamental human truths that transcend the politics of the moment. The individuals have innate values, regardless of their productivity or achievement, wealth, or power, that we are in this together. Our connection enriches us, creating a whole America that is greater than the sums of its part. No, not really. America is a very divided place, not only within the white community, but with other groups altogether. None of the different racial groups are really united at all, nor have we ever been. We don't have a history of ever being united. And As far as your loneliness, well, who's causing your loneliness? I don't see nobody of other groups causing your loneliness. Like I said, white people need to think about working on your problems from within and stop lashing out at everybody else like we're doing stuff to you. We're not doing anything to you. Okay? We're not doing anything to you at all. Okay? Your problems are self-inflicted. A lot of these things in this article that I'm looking at, this is your problem. These are things you brought on yourself. So I don't know what you can do to turn it around, but you need to really work on that among yourselves. But I think that it's at the point where you just simply can't. Y'all are fighting so much. You're carrying your fights to the streets for the entire world to see. That is some serious disconnect. Black people may not be all together either. You know, as some of these people within our groups, like the Coons, they deserve to be beaten out in the street, but we're not doing that to them. Okay, we don't like it, and we usually talk among each other about it, but we don't take that fight to the streets like the white community is with each other. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. Peace, family.